recording, start streaming. So the Twitch thing is like 10-15 seconds.
Okay.
Cool. Let me just check that we are indeed live. And the background noise of my fan flying, that's just my computer. It's normal behavior. I have not yet managed to tame it. But yeah, so hello everyone. Glad that you could join us for Eva's afternoon tea hour, or for, in Kelly's case, it's what time is it?
Kelly's morning coffee hour. It's 10 a.m. here.
Wow. Are you a morning person or?
I'm very much a morning person.
Excellent.
I wake up at 7 a.m. every single morning without an alarm.
Wow. And when do you go to sleep?
It depends. Usually like 11 to midnight sometimes.
Okay, so that's 7-8 hours. Okay, yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, so
I'm sure some people would say I'm not getting enough sleep, but
yeah, and they would be right, because you need your 9-10 hours. Like I am like now. So I work from home, which means my excuse is, right, I'm not commuting, therefore I can sleep the commute, right? So I sleep like. Yeah, I go to sleep at 10. Oh, I wake up at 6. Well, that's not that much, is it? Okay, yeah, so I'm...
It's basically like the same as me, just shifted an hour.
Yeah, so I'm not that great either. Yeah, so today Kelly and I will be talking just about her experience, what she does with Shopify partners, how it is to work remotely, and how it is to, more importantly, manage remote teams. So I'm also a part of startup that, and of course now everyone is remote, but in normal times just the product team works remotely, and we have our own sets of challenges. So I think that'll be quite a cool topic to talk about. And yeah, so Kelly, could you just give me your like a 2-minute cocktail party? Who are you? What do you do?
Of course. First off, thanks for having me on here. So I own a company called The Tap Room. We're Shopify Plus partners, so we specialize working with high growth merchants on Shopify and Shopify Plus. So they're making about $500,000 annually minimum, up to 10 to 20 million a year. So yeah, it's way more than I make. So it's really fun when they come to me and they're like, "Hey, how should I run my business?" And I'm like, "I will tell you, but I don't make that much money, but hey, you believe me, so that's cool." Anyway, yeah, any clients listening to this, I'm so sorry. So we don't work with any particular vertical. So we spend a lot of time in home goods, food, apparel, gifts. We're a majority female team. So basically any of the things that women like to buy, we're really good at marketing to ourselves. So that's usually who we're drawing in as a client.
So,
but yeah, so
well,
I've been...
Sorry.
You have a question?
Yes. I'm curious about what are things that women buy? Just
yeah, so we like a lot of apparel online. Like, so we work with a lot of boutiques, for example, gifts for other people, home goods, so like decor and things like that. Athleisure, companies who sell either like fitness apparel, but also like weights, or those wrist things that are also weights. So yeah, I work out a lot, so wrist things is the technical term. Yeah, and just like food in general, like subscription boxes and things like that.
I just read a New York Times article, because that's what I do in my free time, about
Same.
just this is about like give me a martini. And so it said like how the habits of Americans have changed during the COVID, and it kind of listed which things are being sold more and which things are being sold less. In your in the businesses that you're involved in, is the trend that they're busier, or is it more difficult, given that they are, I assume, Shopify primarily online businesses? So
yeah.
Is this good time, but is the business okay for them?
It varies. So the apparel clients are definitely seeing a little bit of a drop in their conversion rate and their number of visits, number of orders. They're finding that they have to run more sales in order to keep up the sales volume that they want to get. But then we have clients who are selling, like we have a client who sells microgreens. like Sprouts, basically, in a subscription model, and they're thriving because everyone wants to have their own garden at home, basically.
I mean, yeah. Like, I want to be ready. Like, come zombie apocalypse, I want to have my Sprouts, but also I would want to have my wrist thingies to get,
Do some, yes, exactly. But yeah, so it's a mixed bag.
Okay, and I just saw that you are a Shopify partner town hall someone. What does that mean?
Yeah, so Shopify is like the company does a town hall, I think like once a month or every 2 weeks or something like that for their employees. Basically, it's like the state of the company. Here's what we're working on. Here's what our goals are. They can have people discuss certain projects that they're working on. This is the first time they're actually doing a town hall for Shopify partners. So anyone who works with the Shopify platform around the world can attend this. It'll just be live streamed in their partner portal. And because we have so many merchants who are struggling to keep their business running because they may be primarily brick and mortar, the big focus is getting them online. So I will be one of the speakers, and then Mark Perini from IC Social is going to be the other speakers, just basically talking about how we're helping merchants get online, and how other people can also kind of replicate these kinds of things within their own business and in their own free time to help merchants get online.
Cool. And so, right, so as a Shopify partner, does that mean? What does that mean? Does that mean that you do primarily marketing, design, coding, a bit of everything? What?
It can really be anything. So anybody can become a partner with Shopify by signing up for a Shopify partner account at partners.shopify.com. And so Shopify partners, they can be like me. We're a full service agency, so we do everything from design, development, digital marketing, content strategy, SEO strategy. There can be people who just take pictures of products, like so people have better product photography on their site. There are people who specialize just in email marketing or in advertising on Facebook and Instagram or SEO and Google Ads. I mean, it can run the gamut. Basically anything that can help merchants grow their business.
And so as the agency owner, like how does your typical, I mean, I know there's no typical days, but how do you structure your days, or like how much is like managing people, how much is sales, marketing, responding to customers, and how much is developing? Like what do you do on a typical day?
Yeah, so right now it's too much development work. I think I've put in about 70 hours in the past week working on one project, so it can go live. It was a lot. Thankfully, that's not the norm. So most of the time I'm spending my time on every single lead call that we have, because I find that we're more likely to convert a lead if I'm the one who is actually leading the call, but my project manager is on there as well. Also, I do a little bit of development work here and there, but mainly I have a team of 11. So I'm trying to make sure that they have everything that they need to be able to do their work. So like every week I have hourly one-on-ones with all of my employees to make sure. Yeah, and honestly, that is one of the best things that I could do for my team. I personally love that one-on-one time with them because we can talk about literally whatever. And it's a good opportunity to get to know your employees, but also make sure that they are, they're happy with the work that they're doing.
So you directly oversee all 11 of them, like there's no other, like...
Correct. Yeah, there's no, it's a very flat organizational style. It's me at the top and then everybody else.
So there's one manager here, everyone else.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'll change. I had to freeze hiring because of COVID. Yeah. But at some point I will be hiring on a developer manager to oversee all developers, because that's, I think, 5 out of, well, I can't really consider myself to be a developer on the team because I own the company. But I think I have 4.5 developers, 1 project manager, and eventually I'm going to need another project manager with a number of projects we're taking on. So I'll start to add that second layer in there pretty soon here.
Right, and then you can have management meetings. Those are the best.
Yes. Real excited for that.
And so I imagine that you kind of started, so now it's 11 of you. No, there's 12 of you, so you manage 11, right? Mm-hmm. So, correct. But a long time ago, there was just you.
Yes.
Okay, so...
It wasn't that long ago, actually. It was just me. So I launched the Taproom. I converted from being just a freelancer to launching the Taproom as an agency in October of 2017.
Oh, that's not that long ago, no.
It's
Wow.
not that long
So
ago.
your projected growth is like this, Kelly.
Yeah. Thankfully, when I made that transition from Kelly the freelancer to Kelly the agency owner, I was partnering with other contractors who were running their own businesses, so sort of like a subcontracting kind of relationship under a different brand name. So I had other people already listed on the site as part of our team, even though they weren't like full-time with us. So I have, including myself, there are 4 of us who are full-time and everybody else is a contractor. I have one contractor who was about to turn full-time and then COVID happened. So eventually he will be converted into a full-time employee.
Okay. And so you're all, obviously now you're all working remotely, but before, is it like completely distributed team, or is it, because you're in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, so about half of our team is located in the metro Atlanta area. We do have an office, which is where I work out of. Our project manager comes in once a week to the office, but everybody else works remotely.
Okay. Right, because I read somewhere that you were really excited about having a physical office and like painting the walls and like claiming your space and peeing everywhere.
But it's really like, it's just for me. I just wanted the space for myself.
No offense, husband, but I need to go. No, I totally get that, because like I've been working remotely for a long time as well, and it's just like it's weird because like you never stop working. Because so my office is basically in our living room, and so it's like I could always just swivel here and do a bit more, and like you never really stop. And like I wake up at 6 and I'm like, I'll just check my emails real quick, and then you start working.
Oh, I do that every single morning. It's terrible.
Right? Yeah. So I don't know, but yeah. So in terms of productivity, so for how long did you have the physical space before the COVID happened?
I got that physical space starting January 1st. But I had like a co-working membership before that, so I've been at the same co-working space since 2015 or early 2016, one of those. So I've been working out of there for a while, but it was just like a hot desk kind of situation. So starting in January, I shifted over from hot desk to actually having my own physical office at the same building.
Okay, and
so yeah, I haven't really been working from home for quite some time. That was very much intentional because I am the type of person who needs to talk to people during the day. And it was getting to the point where my husband would come home from work and I did not talk to a single person. It's like, hi, how are you? How was your day? It's like words. And he just had to be like, slow down. Give me a second, because he was talking to people all day.
I mean, I think your husband and my wife should meet, because like I would also be like saving all these ideas and like writing notes, like I have to discuss this with her, and like,
exactly.
So she would come home like from a commute and like stressed and like and I'd be like, hey, so guess what, listen and she would be like you need to find some friends, like this is not good, which is, but yeah, like I still haven't made I don't know, maybe I'm just, we also have pets. So like I feel really bad for like, because I am their entertainment, right? So if I leave, like that's not no quality of life for them. Because like we have 2 cats and a dog, and obviously I have to walk the dog, and the cats they're just, I need to be their object of hatred and something. Like normally I have one here just looking at me, or like every time I go to the kitchen, they just kind of come like right in front of me to try to cross me. I don't know. It's just, that's the home entertainment for me. So would you say that then, right now that you're kind of forced to stay at home, would you say that your productivity has like dropped, or is it? I mean, obviously, like with the pandemic, your productivity has dropped.
Yeah.
But would you say it also has to do with the fact that you don't have your own space in an office?
I think for the most part, things have stayed very much the same, since it was usually only me in the office, again, at the physical space. So I've been, working by myself for a long enough time where I know how to keep myself motivated to get things done, especially since e-commerce is still very busy. So we are still very busy. I think the hardest part of the transition to working from home was my husband also coming to work from home as well. And, before we started this, we share the same office.
Right.
So we have to kind of like we both have a lot of phone calls during the day. So either one of us has to leave the room, or we have to like schedule our phone calls to, one of us being in the room at the time, or like for recording for our podcast, or like this, for example, I have to send him a calendar invite. So it's on his work calendar to know not to schedule a meeting during that time. So we're finding ways to make it work.
Oh yeah, the calendar meetings, yeah. But yeah, so that's a good question. How do you manage to switch off? I'm finding that hard during these strange times. So how do you manage to switch off?
So I'm very lucky to have a room in our house that is our office. So my computer stays up here, my work stays up here. When I leave the office, I want to leave work here and come back to it later, but I have to be here to actually work. I don't always follow that rule. Sometimes I'll bring my computer downstairs with Anthony to work. Like I said, it was a very busy week this past week, so I definitely broke that rule. But honestly, you have to force yourself to switch off. If you're like me and you're always connected, especially running a business, I'm always connected. I have to force myself to step away whenever possible to kind of give myself that brain break.
Yeah, because I worked as a freelancer before. Now I work as a full-time web developer. But when I work as a freelancer, like, it's so, because you're like, oh, but like this minute I could be getting a sale, and then like every moment that you don't work, like, I'm losing my money, like I'm the boss.
Exactly.
So it's like
it's so hard taking time off as a freelancer. Every minute you're not working, you're not making money.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And so how about your team? How do you let's not worry about the pandemic. Before that, like, how did you manage to kind of have good workflows given that everyone's remote? Like, do you do a lot of like video calls or really good emails, or is it Slack, or like what kind of communication do you have normally?
Yeah, so we use Slack for all of our internal communications, and we use Basecamp for all of our external communications with our clients. So we can definitely set some boundaries around when we're going to respond on Basecamp. We let our clients know, these are our working hours. You'll respond during these working hours. If there's a fire, ping me and ping our project manager, and we will take care of it. I really try hard to keep my employees only working during the working hours, and not working in the evenings, not working on the weekends, unless that they just kind of like shift their schedule to do a little bit more evening work if that's when they're most productive. My point being, I don't want them overworking. If there's something that ends up taking too much time that needs addressing over the weekend, I will be the one to step in so they can enjoy their time off.
Wow. Very, very cool. Okay, so I wanted to ask you a bit more about your coding journey. Like, how did you learn to code, and what are you best at, and what are you most interested in, and what do you spend most time working on? Because those are not necessarily the same thing. So kind of like your journey a bit, and then like your technologies.
Yeah, so I learned how to code thanks to Neopets. If you're not familiar with Neopets, it's a website where you can have like your own virtual pet, and you can play games, and you can feed the pet, and you can have your own like personal pages, and you can also build a community called a guild, and you can style the community however you want it. And in order to do that, you had to know basic HTML and CSS. So my dad bought me an HTML goodie book when I was 11 years old. And that is how I started. So I actually had my first freelance client when I was 14 years old. It was for a company, a hunting supplies company. I was paid a t-shirt, a really good deal. I still have the t-shirt, actually, which is really cool. It's missing a sleeve. It's been used as a dust rag for many, many years, but still cool to have. Yeah, and so my day-to-day, so with Shopify, we really focus on most of our time on theming. So we're doing theme customizations, we're building custom themes, so a lot of front-end languages, so HTML, CSS, JavaScript. We're finding more and more opportunities to use GraphQL in the work that we're doing, because Shopify has a very robust GraphQL API, both in the storefront and in the admin. But what I really enjoy doing right now is finding opportunities to use Vue.js. And we work with a company called Nacelle, who specializes in headless commerce. So they built out a headless commerce framework where we can basically take all the data, the Shopify data from somebody's store, their products and everything like that, and then build out the front end with Vue.js. And to me, like, the websites are way faster. They do cost a little bit more because you're, using this external platform, of course, on top of paying for Shopify. But it's something different. It's something different from the standard Shopify theming. So it's something that we're trying to find more and more opportunities to use. But yeah, I think that answers all the questions.
Yeah, people are remembering HTML goodies, and apparently those were the good times. And yeah, there's a good question about the Ladybug podcast, which we will go to in a second. So, because I find a lot of, especially people that are self-taught, like myself, like we find it really difficult to know when you know enough to be employable or to be able to work on a project or do something. So I know like one avenue for that, which is what I did, is WordPress. So like I was customizing WordPress themes and stuff like that. How much, I know it's a tricky question, but how much knowledge do you think someone needs to have in order to be able to work on Shopify themes or customization, if that is like not necessarily to build something from scratch, but like customize?
Yeah, honestly, like if you know how to, like you've been following along with tutorials on HTML, on CSS, on maybe on JavaScript, a lot of the more advanced customizations are going to require JavaScript, but you can do a whole lot without having to know a single bit of JavaScript. JavaScript was such a difficult thing for me to learn, even though I'm using it very much every single day, and I still don't think I'm nearly as good as anybody else on my team. I could do CSS in my sleep, but JavaScript is something that I'm still like, is this the best practice? But yeah, I mean, honestly, Shopify's documentation for customizing themes is phenomenal. They put a lot of time on building out their documentation. So if building out Shopify stores or working in e-commerce is something that's of interest to you, just look through the documentation, open up a partner's account, create a development store. You can install one of the free themes, and then just start poking around and seeing how things work. I don't think it really requires that much of a base knowledge. I have clients who know absolutely nothing about theme development, and yet they know where to go into like a certain theme file and make some basic changes. So, and they did not learn for years on how to code. So,
nice. So the Ladybug podcast. It's funny though. Like today I was obviously Googling you, and I went and I typed Ladybug podcast, and Google auto-completed controversy, and I was like, what? Which was a bit confusing. But could you talk a little bit about what the Ladybug podcast is, and who is it in, like, who's your ideal audience?
Yeah, so Ladybug podcast there are three of us co-hosts. It's me, Allie, and Emma. We talk all things tech, career, and code. So the ideal listener is somebody who is interested in development, who is an experienced developer. I mean, we have topics ranging from how to learn basic CSS to this weekend where we're going to be recording a couple episodes, one on like intermediate JavaScript. So there's a little of something for everyone. This past season 2, we started doing a book club as well, which is really fun. So each month we're reading a book. Usually it's something career related or something like personal development related. And yeah, it's been a blast having people join in and follow along with that.
And how did you who gave the idea? Like, how did you start it? Like, why? How?
I don't know who actually started it, but it all started from like a DM group.
Right now you had an ideal platform to say it was all my idea. Like, I did it. The logo is my design.
I don't like taking credit for things I can't take credit for. I know I was asked to do it, so it's definitely not my idea.
Right. So there was like a chat.
Yeah, it was just a chat on Twitter, and actually earlier this week was officially 1 year since we bought I bought the ladybug.dev domain. So it's a fun little anniversary there.
Nice, congratulations. Do you have
Thank you.
Do you have a favorite episode?
Oh, okay. I know nothing about data structures and algorithms because I'm entirely self-taught or taught via books, just experience, never went to school for this. So that episode was something that I knew absolutely nothing about going into. And at the end of it, I still knew absolutely nothing about it because it was just like too much information. One of my absolute favorite episodes.
Okay, so okay, and a follow-up question is, what's your how do you learn? Like when you need to learn something new, like Vue or data structures, like what's your approach to learning something new?
Yeah, so I'm very much a learn by doing person. And if actually I can plug another one of our episodes. We recently released one that was learning how to learn. One of the major takeaways from that is that what you think you learn best or how you think you learn best is not necessarily how you actually learn best. So trying out different methods for learning is definitely a very important part of this process. I learn by doing best. So having a specific project that I need to work on, a specific end goal, I usually learn best if there's an end date, like a deadline for it as well. So like I learned Vue.js because I was approached by Nacelle to build out a site for a merchant who was going to be on Shark Tank. That's high stakes. And he was like, I know you know nothing about Vue.js. I know you know React. No React. I barely know React. I've built a couple of Gatsby sites in my life. So he was like, if you can do React, you can absolutely do Vue.js. So just jump right in. And so I jumped right in, and it was like 3 weeks from knowing absolutely nothing about Vue.js to having the site launch. And then the next day, they were featured on Shark Tank.
Wow.
And so it was a really big deal. And that was a super fun project, but a really fun way for me to learn. So obviously I learn when I am under pressure. I don't recommend that for everybody.
Like, you're going to be on TV, so you better do it right. But,
don't screw this up.
Yeah, but I definitely feel like that's also the freelancer approach, or like when you work for yourself. Like I often did, like someone would say, hey, do you like, I read you can do this, can you also do this other thing? And like even though I had no idea, I would be like, oh, there's a weekend, I can learn, and by Monday I will have answers for you. So like accept now, learn it, and then somehow deliver.
Exactly. And I think that's actually a really important point to make in freelancing, is that you're going to encounter new things that you've never built before, like me with Vue.js, for example. You should be completely transparent up front, like, hey, I've done these types of things, so it's not exactly what I've done, what you're asking for, but I have no doubt that I can learn it. If you go into it and say, yes, I can absolutely do this, and then you can't deliver on it, that really doesn't look great. So being a little bit more transparent up front and kind of setting the stage that you know, it might take a little bit longer because you are figuring this out, but you're pretty confident that you can do it. It leaves a better taste in the client's mouth as well, that, you know, you're not stringing them along here.
Cool. So I kind of know you a little bit from Twitter. I know of you from Twitter.
We know each other now.
Yeah, it's like, this is it. So, and I kind of like the first time I saw your tweets was like the funny kind of designs and mugs and like GitHub like prints like developer merch or something like that. So what happened to developer merch? Like, where's the funny mugs?
I got bored. I got tired of doing it. So I never really went into the idea of building out this business that's going to be around for years. The whole reason why I built a store was because I wanted to figure out how headless commerce works between Shopify and Gatsby. That is the whole entire reason why I built that site to begin with. It just turns out that I had a lot of ideas to put on mugs and, make random shirts and pillows and stuff. So it kind of grew from there. But yeah, it was around for a whole 6 months, which is a pretty long time for a business.
Yeah, and it's like people, I think that the git commit one, the git log,
yes.
I saw a lot of mugs like with people like drinking seriously, like with like horrible commits.
Please work. Yep. That was a real Git log from one of my projects.
I believe you. Like, please
That was
stop.
the time actually when I was learning how to build a Rails app for a Shopify client.
Okay.
Again, jump right in.
So we have a question. So Kelly, do you have any long-term thoughts on building your company solely focused on a single platform?
So I know that there's an inherent risk to putting all my eggs in one basket. I am wearing all the clothes that are for Shopify as well. Literally my entire wardrobe this week is just Shopify stuff. Usually it is. No, I mean, there's definitely the risk that if Shopify decides to go under, no one decides to go under. If something happens to Shopify, thankfully the skills that we use every day are easily translatable to another platform. So I personally like specializing on Shopify right now because we're really good at e-commerce, and there are certain things that you need to know how to do on the user experience side specifically for e-commerce. So it kind of sets ourselves apart. If I had to pick up other platforms, I could easily pick up BigCommerce because it's structured very similarly. I would very reluctantly pick up Magento because it's PHP based, and I do have a PHP developer, and I started with WordPress. So yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm going to continue to focus solely on Shopify. If it comes to a point where it's a good idea to diversify a little bit, I will add on additional platforms, but definitely nothing in the near future where I'd be looking at doing that.
Okay.
It's a good question.
Good, very good question. So going back to Twitter.
Yes.
Because you have quite a big following, and I wanted to ask, like, how did you grow your Twitter audience, and has it been useful to you, and how?
Yeah, so how I grew my Twitter audience, really bad developer jokes. I had some tweets go viral, and they kind of picked up from there. I think authenticity is something that's very important in on your Twitter account. You will see me complain about running a business a fair bit. Not complain, but like being very, very transparent about things are difficult right now. Yeah. I think that adds a very important human element to the fact that, yes, I have 65,000 followers or something like that, but I would probably be saying the same things if I had 4 followers. Yeah. I have gotten some pretty cool experiences from it. I've gotten new leads and new clients directly from my Twitter account, which is really funny. I had a tweet go viral last year that was literally making fun of clients. It was like a tweet that said, like, who are we, clients? What do we want? We don't know. When do we want it? Right now. And I had somebody reach out to me who was like, this tweet was hilarious. We want to work with you. And I'm like, okay, cool. I also had that situation with Elon Musk, where it's because I had a large following that the tweet was able to get the reach that it did. But my husband actually had this idea to add like an I'm feeling lucky feature into Teslas, where you click it and it takes you to like a random place basically. And I tweeted about it, and he responded, and then he added it. So like the last major release included the I'm feeling lucky, and he also included I'm feeling hungry. And his executive assistant reached out to me afterwards and was like, we want to send you some stuff. So I didn't get a real Tesla, but I did get this Tesla.
Whoa!
So pretty cool. The steering wheel is moved. The doors do open. I don't want to break anything, of course, but yeah, it's pretty fun.
That is so cool. So what you're saying is like we should all tweet at Elon Musk. And
yeah.
Key takeaways from today. Is that,
okay. Yeah, there we go. Tweet at Elon Musk. The funniest thing though is that I've been in a lot of different communities kind of growing up. I grew up on the internet basically. My earliest memories, like I knew how to turn on and off a computer before I knew how to write. I've had people from like past communities, past lives, be like, I saw your Elon Musk tweet, and I'm like, wait, I recognize that name, or I recognize that face. And it ended up being somebody that I knew 10 years ago from a different community. So it's been really cool kind of reconnecting with people over the ages as well, just because of my tweets.
Yeah, that's the power of, well, the positive power of Twitter. Do you also have any experience with like Twitter trolls or like people being weird, or
Oh yeah,
Hi,
all the time.
hi, in your DMs.
I was showcasing my DMs to a group of people this morning. Yeah, I mean, the sad part is I can't respond to everybody. I have my notifications turned off on Twitter. Like, I occasionally check my Twitter notifications. My phone would be blowing up nonstop if I had those on. So definitely don't take it to heart if I miss a tweet and don't respond to you. I experienced this the other day that somebody said you need to be better about responding to people, and I'm like, that's so not true. She's doing the best she can. But yeah, I mean, Twitter trolls are an inherent part of life. You don't need to have a lot of followers on Twitter to experience them. I will say I really don't like the advice of ignore the trolls or don't feed the trolls, because occasionally I want to respond to something, even if it's just like, well, let me actually put this into perspective or something like that. And then just to have people respond with like, oh, just ignore the haters or something like that, it really downplays the experience. It downplays my own voice. I've had people say like, you shouldn't tag companies in tweets, in like negative tweets, because your reach is too much. It's too great. That I had to like censor myself basically just because I have a lot of followers on Twitter. It's some really dumb stuff that people say, but there are people who are going to say dumb stuff all the time everywhere. So that's just part of life for me.
Yeah, Twitter or not. And like, so artificial intelligence wants to grow socials more, network outreach, create demand. So how if, let's say that you are beginning your tech career, which I think everyone kind of agrees that if you are into, I don't know, tech stuff, web development, front end, especially React stuff, Twitter is quite like a good networking tool. Like, it's how I got my job.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you recommend besides being authentic and obviously to tag Elon Musk? What else would you recommend to people to grow their audience? Like, let's say, especially if you're like a junior person, so you're not coming from, hey, I just built this library, come check it out. Like, you're like, so how would you grow your audience?
Yeah, I think tweeting about your development journey is one of the most powerful and most impactful things you can do. No matter where you are at in your development journey, somebody is behind you, and somebody can learn from you. And you know, there are certain hashtags that people use, like code newbies or 100 days of code, or you know, any of those types of things out there, that it basically creates like a specific community around the, you know, maybe the level of expertise where you're at, or the certain languages that you're kind of focusing on, or libraries you're focusing on, and engaging in those communities. That's one of the most important things. Replying to other people's tweets and having actual conversations can really help to grow those relationships. I mean, part of having a large network is part of networking is actually having those relationships and forming those relationships, and it goes both ways. You really do have to put the work in there.
Cool. Yeah. No. Yeah. I am still learning how to do it right, because I'm not that good with social media, and I find it like I just don't know, like, because I don't want to share. I'm not a very eager sharer of like my own personal stuff. But I try to be helpful, and I try to, because I'm studying quite a lot, because I'm junior, so I watch all the time like tutorials, and I try to kind of like summarize what I learned, share with others, and like that has definitely also worked for me. So like, just, yeah, because like sometimes you would still see, for example, did you know that you can style your console logs? Like that tweet comes like every 6 months, and it's like, whoa, really, you can do that? And I think that's another actually really good point to make, is that as your audience grows, as your audience changes, things that you tweeted before are still relevant today. And there's nothing wrong with, you know, retweeting something you already said before, for example, because your tweets are getting exposed to like a new group of people, and you can teach the same thing to new people. Yeah, no, that's true. And we have another very good question. So what kind of resources do we recommend for intermediate programmers. So like Free Code Camp is great, but what else is there that is equally solid? So assuming that they're asking about JavaScript and front-end stuff, because I think Free Code Camp mostly does that, and some frameworks, maybe also Node. What other resources would you recommend for intermediate learners of JavaScript, let's say?
There's definitely still courses out there, maybe still like front-end masters that are more intermediate level that you can look at. I don't know any off the top of my head. I will say once you hit like an intermediate level, the best way that you can continue to learn is applying it. Finding opportunities to build out a project where you're exposing yourself to a new language or library or a new particular skill that you need to learn. And having like that specific end goal can really help kind of push you along. And I know that's the whole history behind me learning headless commerce and learning Gatsby, was just so I can get exposed to React, I can get exposed to headless commerce, and get more exposure to GraphQL.
Nice. Someone is asking about your socials, Batman.
Yeah.
No,
so
yes.
my Twitter handle is Batman. No, my Twitter handle is KVLLY.
Yeah. I'm actually gonna post it, so because maybe we'll get you a couple new followers. So
there you go.
You're welcome, Kelly.
Thank you.
Because that's what you needed. Let me just. So that's Kelly's Twitter. So yeah, before we finish, is there anything else that you wanted to kind of like mention or add? And just like besides Twitter, is there any other website or? Okay, another question.
I see 2 questions there.
Oh, type what? Type that. Oh, okay, right. 2 questions. Do you think as a mid developer the way forward is always a Scrum Master or engineering manager? Like, okay.
One of my favorite topics. No, it is not. Okay, so there are 2 different paths you can go. And I'm currently reading the book Radical Candor, which I'm currently in the chapter talking about this, so it's super relevant at the moment. You have your rock stars and you have your superstars. Hate the phrases, but we're going to go with them. Superstars are the ones who are going to be like always striving for the next position, the promotions, becoming an engineering manager, for example. Your rock stars are going to be the ones who want to keep on getting better at development. They keep on wanting to expose themselves to new languages and start to build out more complex projects maybe. You do not have to go the engineering manager route if you want to keep on growing with the company. There's a big transition from going into being an engineer to being an engineering manager. You're no longer managing the project, you're managing the people. And if you're not somebody who wants to manage people, you just want to keep on focusing on the development side of things, that's absolutely fine. And there are always going to be companies that exist out there that focus on that growth trajectory. And unfortunately, if you're at a company that does not, it might require a change of company in order to continue down that path. But it is very, very important to say that if you want to continue to grow in your career, you do not have to go the managerial route if you want to stay in the code.
Yeah, excellent question. And the next one was, what do both of you feel is the best way to get women interested in the tech field?
Support them.
Yes.
Yeah, I really enjoy doing these types of live streams. I really enjoy doing podcasts. Really, giving people an opportunity to see what my day-to-day is like, and my growth path is not going to be the same as other people's growth paths. And just, letting them know that everyone can take their own path, but support them along the way and introduce them to additional people who would be able to help them along the way. There's a really strong community of women in tech, and exposing them to more and more people who have had success in the tech field is very inspiring.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Like, the importance of role models for women is just very crucial. So making women visible is a lot. Being sometimes less harassy is also helpful. Because there is still, like, I face prejudice quite often. I mean, a bit less now, but like when I was just like still just an intern or something, and I had like even less authority, it was just I don't know, like these weird stereotypes that people have about women in programming or career changers or like being a developer and not having gone through the traditional CS route and graduating in 22 and being a white straight male and all of that. But yeah, I think
Yeah.
role models are important, and there's also a lot of initiatives like outreachy, like Rails Girls Summer of Code, like Women in Tech. There's a lot of groups for women to support women, but also we need everyone to support women, not just women, because I feel sometimes there is a danger of just us, women talking to women and agreeing, and then like we don't make the connection with the actual like reality, because the reality is that we're all out there. We should all be working together. It's not just us versus them.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I guess we have opinions on this, Kelly.
Oh yeah, we could talk all day about being a woman in tech, and honestly, it's not one of my favorite subjects. But we have plenty of other questions that we can still answer.
Exactly. Do you sell products internationally via your product? Did you sell products? I guess they were referring to your developer merch.
Yeah, I did. So shout out to Shopify for making that easy, and shout out to Printful for making that easy. So Printful, basically the way I set up the store was that it was a print-on-demand store. So I designed what the product would look like. When an order comes in, Printful is the print-on-demand service. They would get a notification and say, hey, we're starting the process of printing this mug, and we're going to ship it out for you. So I never really had to manage inventory anywhere. They are a global company. I can accept payments on Shopify in different currencies. So yeah, it was absolutely an international thing for no additional work whatsoever on my part.
Awesome. Do you stream Batman?
I do not.
Any reason, or just time, or interest, or?
Just time. I like joining other people's streams, but it's one more thing that I don't have time for. So it's not my kind of thing. I love doing these though.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that Batman is busy. Yeah. Cool.
Batman is very busy.
Does your skill set include visual design? Who designed your first Shopify website, please? Thank you, Matthew, for the question.
So I started as a web designer. I basically called myself a designer when I was coding in basic HTML and CSS. Today, I don't design anything. I don't think clients want me to be their designer. I'm very much stronger on the development side. So I have a team who does the site designs. Before I formed the agency, I would partner with designers, people who specialize specifically in user experience and visual design to actually design out the Shopify themes. And even now, just because I've been in the e-commerce space for so long, while I'm building something out, I can still say, hey, this is not a good practice specifically for e-commerce, so I'm going to change it to this. And so you kind of learn some things along the way, but I am not the person who basically just designs the sites from scratch. Good thing.
A lot of it's short put. So I think that is not a question.
There's a hot at the end.
Right. It's amusing. Yes. And so, because let's say someone, for example me, was quite a strong developer but not very good with design, because I think there's like a big, design for developers thing, or like developers thinking about design, or developers thinking about understanding design process.
Yeah.
Do you have like any recommendations on how, like if you were talking to a developer and that you wanted them to be stronger with design skills, what would you recommend them to do?
Basically, those resources you just talked about, like the design for developers, kind of like books, and like that is exactly where you need to start. Because as a developer, we have the technical know-how to do things, but we may not necessarily know why we're making all of these buttons pink. Things like that. So it's really important to have a strong understanding of why, especially when you're working on like very high touch websites, that are getting a lot of traffic and things like that. It's another thing to learn. And I know there are so many things that we're all trying to learn. It's a little overwhelming. There is value in learning it though.
Yeah, I agree. I'm totally in the continuous, like learning is for life, like always. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you make plugins, Batman?
So for Shopify, we call plugins apps. We do custom app development for our clients, so maybe like they're very specific to that particular client or their service that they're offering. I'm not actively selling any apps in the Shopify App Store, but we are going to be entering the Shopify App Competition that's just now started. So give that a little Google search if you're interested in building your first Shopify app, because there are some pretty nice prizes as well. But the whole point is to help merchants get online because of COVID. So let's frame the really important part here.
Good. Can you speak more to how you build headless CMS e-commerce projects? Who do you partner with? You briefly mentioned it earlier. How you manage to user flows, user creation accounts?
Yeah, so headless commerce. So let me back up for a second and explain what headless is. So headless commerce is basically you have multiple systems that you're using that are all talking to one front end, but it allows you to decouple what you're using on the front end and on the back end to be able to, introduce additional systems that you might need for a particular client need. So like, for example, again, the service that I mentioned is called Nacelle. It's Nacelle. The website is getnacelle.com. I can just type it out here, getnacelle.com. Oh, I can't type out there because I'm not logged in. Just kidding. I thought about it anyway. So I partner with them. So they basically grab all the data from Shopify for me, and they provide the tools that I need to basically only focus on the front end. Currently, the customer account creation is still happening on the Shopify side, and also the checkout still happens on the Shopify side. So still redirected back to their Shopify store and then back to the Nacelle website.
Okay. Can you maybe message me that link? Because I'm sure people...
Yeah, let me put it on here. Getnacelle.com. I don't know why I'm saying that, but...
Getnacelle.com, okay. Let me just...
Oh, yeah, look, that's fun.
And someone is asking whether your Shopify challenge app is top secret, or can you drop hints?
We have a couple of ideas of what we might be focusing on. If you're interested in competing, I think there are certainly some specific areas that are definitely really important right now. The first one is focusing on ways that that merchants or customers can add in ability to tip, for example. That's really important for restaurants who are getting online. That's not something that's currently built in. Being able to provide donations, really robust strategies for curbside pickup or like scheduling a pickup, for example. The Shopify Partners blog, in part of announcing the app competition, they have a bunch of really great ideas of things that you can focus on that I highly recommend reading.
Awesome. What budget do I need to hire you?
So most of our projects start at $25,000. US dollars, yes. 25,000 rolls of toilet paper.
Yes, ooh, that is a lot. And what tech stacks are you actively using?
So I'm in the Shopify space. I'm really focusing on HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Ruby on Rails is what we have our apps built in. Vue.js is what we're building for our own personal site and also for any of our headless commerce work. We're not really doing anything with React, but that's definitely an area that some Shopify partners have gone down as well. We also have apps that are built in PHP as well.
That's a good point. 25,000 toilet paper rolls is like $5 million in today's economy. So you have to be rich to hire Batman. It makes sense.
We're a very expensive agency.
Okay, cool. If there's no other questions, infrastructure to scale. Yeah, makes sense. Because I said 30 minutes, Kelly, and it's almost an hour.
No, that's totally fine.
So you need your second breakfast or something.
There you go.
But, super thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening to our audience. So if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
For me personally, it's going to be my Twitter at KVLLY. For Shopify development work, it's going to be our agency website, which is thetaproom.com.
So taproom.com. I'll remember that. So thank you for chatting with me, Kelly, and have a nice day.
Thanks so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Bye.
Bye.